Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, we talk about all things homesteading, homemaking, and just our journey to a slower, more simple life in this crazy world. So in today's video, I thought I'd do something a little different, something kind of fun, I thought. I recently made a blog post, and if you did not know, I do have a blog. I've been doing some work on it recently, trying to make it better, but I've recently done a blog post kind of accumulating all kinds of information about each of the US states and some information on each one that I thought could pertain to somebody who's a homesteader and might be looking for their forever slice of happiness. It's definitely not everything you'd want to consider, and of course states can vary very much depending on where you are in the state, but I thought it was a very good start for anybody who is just kind of looking and searching or even just daydreaming. I will leave that blog post down below so that you can get all the information on all 50 states, but to piggyback off of that concept, I thought I'd make a video to kind of go along with it on what I found might be the top 5 states I might recommend homesteading in. Remember, it is all subjective though. Different people like different things, and the main thing I want you to take away from this is that you can and should start homesteading no matter where you are. But just to kind of get you to daydream a little bit about your perfect place, I thought it would be fun. So the categories I kind of compiled together that is over on the blog post are cost of land per acreage. I ranked all the states based off safety in terms of natural disasters. I did that by looking at all federally reported natural disasters since 1953. I also looked at safety just based off of crime rates. I believe specifically it was homicide rates. I looked at how regulated homeschooling is because I know a lot of us homesteaded minded people also think homeschooling wise. I looked at rainwater collection regulation. Of course, I looked at raw milk, how easy it is to obtain and or sell depending on what you might be looking to do. I looked at average temperature for every season, and I looked at the cottage food laws. Now, like I was saying, this is definitely not a complete list of all the things you'd want to keep in mind for homesteading, of course, but to have all that information that you probably would want to look up and Google all in one place, I thought could be a helpful tool. So from the information I gathered, I decided to pick 5 states that I think have some really good qualities that I will highlight in this video. It's not a ranking per se of 5th being the least likely I'd want to and 1 being the first, so it's not in any particular order. These are just some places that stood out to me, and I will tell you more about them now. First, the one that stood out to me is Arizona, and the reason it stood out to me the most is because the cost of the land is the cheapest of any other state. The average cost per acre is only $4,200. That's crazy. Of course, the places that are the cheapest are probably the places that are kind of out in desert land with no water or anything, I'm sure. But if you don't mind the heat and have the means to figure out things like water and stuff like that, I can't see why this couldn't be a great option for you. With low prices like that, it's really hard to not think that way. Arizona also has pretty low regulations when it comes to the homeschooling aspect, and I believe there are permits and things like that that you need for selling cottage food, but once you have those permits in place, you can sell anywhere, including stores, if that's something you're interested in. Second that caught my eye is actually Delaware. Now, I never would have thought about Delaware, but something I found in my research is that Delaware is the safest state of all for natural disaster reports. Of course, probably part of this is due to how small it is, but if you're in Delaware, I guess that you really don't have to think much about the weather. And speaking of the weather, the temperature stays really mild all year long for the most part. It seems like the summers don't get too hot and the winters don't get too terribly cold, depending on your opinion on that. Low homeschool regulations, and there is no laws on rainwater harvesting or on herd shares. So that could be a kind of out-of-the-box option for you. The next one I want to talk about is near and dear to my heart. It is my home state, and I have no intention of living anywhere else because I love it here. It is Maine. But may I say, please do not come here unless you want to live like a Mainer. Don't come here to change our way of living, please. It was one of the top 5 safest in terms of crime, and I believe it was 19th in terms of weather. And I can speak a little bit more on the state since I am from here. I have lived 25 years here. We do get the occasional blizzard, but other than that, in the winter, which we're usually all super prepared for, like it doesn't feel like a disaster by any means, there's no real things to worry about. No earthquakes, no tornadoes. Sometimes we get hurricanes that come up from Florida up the coast, but they are just light wind by the time they get here. The average cost of land per acre is at $45,400, but I will say Maine has a lot of different areas. If you go up north, things are a lot cheaper, but that is because there's less going on. If you're down by the coast in all kinds of places, then that's what makes the average price go up, because if you're getting a water property like a lot of people do to get their second, third homes, those cost a lot. There is no regulations on rainwater harvesting, and you can buy raw milk in stores here. Isn't that awesome? As far as cottage food laws, we have a great system. There is an overall state law, but each individual town can have the choice to completely override those rules if they so wish to. There is no annual limits on how much you can sell with a cottage food business, and you can sell any way you want, whether it be online, farmers markets, in-store, you can even do wholesale. The only thing is, if you do not like cold weather, this is not the place for you. Not crazy like you hear some places. We're not regularly in the negatives, but the average winter temperature is between usually 15-20. And with that, we do have a shorter growing season overall. But I absolutely love it, highly recommend it. Next that caught my eye is West Virginia. Now it's got a lot of good things about it. Average cost of land per acre is very similar to Maine's. It comes to $44,000. Herd shares are legalized and there's no rainwater regulations. But West Virginia, to me, for my research, seemingly has the most lax cottage food laws, so it would be the easiest to start a kind of business like that from your homestead in West Virginia, it seems. There's pretty much no real regulations or anything you need to worry about. So if that's kind of the thing you're looking for, that might be the place for you. And last on my list I'm going to talk about today is Wyoming. Averaged at $54,000 per acre. Low homeschool regulations, no rainwater regulations, and farm to consumer raw milk sale is legal. It seems like a place that has really mild temperature all year round, so it's never like freezing, but it's never super hot, which sounds really nice. And the cottage food laws seem really nice as well. There's an annual limit, but it is at $250,000, which is a huge one. A lot of these states have annual limits of $20,000, $25,000, and this food can be sold anywhere and there's lots of options. It caught my eye mostly because it is both very, very safe for weather, natural disasters, and safe as far as crime. It was 5th safest in the whole country for weather and 3rd safest as far as crime, so that's really good. It seems like an overall really safe, just nice place to be. So those are the 5 states that caught my eye while I was doing my research, but I do encourage you to go to the blog post. It will be down in my description box, and take a look at what I found about everything. If you happen to live somewhere and see a mistake, definitely feel free to correct me, because there's no real way I would know for sure since I don't live all these places. I definitely want the biggest takeaway though to be that you don't need to live anywhere specific to start homesteading or live this kind of lifestyle. We need people like us to be implemented everywhere. In a lot of cases, it might even be better for you to not look for places that have a lot of homesteaders going to them. Not because you don't want to be around that community, of course you do, but because we want to spread the message and spread the businesses all throughout. It doesn't really benefit society as much as it could if we just stay in our own little pockets. If we branch out, we can reach more people and normalize the movement and this kind of way of living and this kind of food for more people. As well, even just for your own benefits, because if you move right in next to somebody who is trying to do the same business as you, for example, it might not go as well. If everybody in 50 miles of you is all homesteading, there's not necessarily people to sell your things to. If you happen to move somewhere where all the people are kind of city folk, then that could really actually benefit you because you'll be the only person doing what you're doing. And once it starts catching these people's eyes, you'll be the person to go to. But start where you are, no matter what state it is, no matter if it's in the country, in the suburbs, in the city. do what you can and know that it is making a difference on our country. We have to be the change we want to see in the world. As cliche as that might sound, it is true. But I do hope you enjoyed this little bit shorter video with me. If you liked it and would like to see more in the future, please consider subscribing. That is the best way to support what I'm doing and to grow our community of like-minded folks. Again, let me just say that the blog post is down below if you'd like to check it out and check out my blog. That would be great. It is definitely in its work in progress stage right now. I am by no means any kind of a programmer or anything like that. But I am doing the best I can to make the impact that I'd like to make, little bit at a time, and so thank you for being here. It is really appreciated. Okay, I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye!
I wanna know you.